All right, well, humanity should be mindful and connect with one another moving into 2025 and beyond, as there are big changes coming. That would be probably an event. If I've seen an event from now to 2030, it would be that there is a moment of destruction here on our soil if we don't get our act together. Hi, my name's Alyssa Conger. I am a psychic and a medium, and I work as what I've called an intuitive guide, helping people take the intangible and make it tangible in their lived experience. So the pathway to how I've gotten to where I am now and like my spiritual practice and why this has all come to be, I would say starts like with many people who are mediums, where you have experiences as a child with spirit, seeing things, whatever, having like premonitions about things, and then as you grow older, those things fade kind of away, or you don't use them, you put them away. And then as an adult, again, little moments start to happen where I would know about something before it would occur, or I would get like little like hits and downloads about people, places, and things, or like people that were going to pass away. I'd always brush this off because I thought that everybody had this kind of thing happening in their life. They don't, I guess. And then fast forward, after a few of these things that like would kind of happen every once in a while, I never like tried to hone it in. My father killed himself, and right before that occurred, the week leading up to it, I was getting a bunch of downloads about things that would have prompted me to know that was going to happen if I had been paying attention. So once that happened, I realized I needed to pay attention to this and utilize it in a bigger way, and get serious about, I guess, the gift or the capability that I had. And if I wasn't going to do that, then I was wasting something that I thought was valuable. I realized that was I guess I should say that I had this special thing going on more than maybe like the general public, because one small example that I like to maybe tell people would be, I'd be sitting at home watching a movie or whatever, and then I'd get like a drop of information in my mind that seemed from outside of myself that would be like, oh, your grandpa is going to be in the hospital for this reason in a couple of days. And then whatever, I would leave that to myself, and then in a couple of days my grandpa would be in the hospital with that kind of thing. Or my brother would get into an accident, and before he got into the accident I would know about it. So it was like these smaller moments of things that would come up. And then, and I think a bigger one, and one maybe you might find interesting, is that in February 2020 I was sitting at a friend's memorial, and I got this like big vision and this like information download essentially saying that a mass exodus of souls essentially was going to happen. It was this vision of a tsunami of people greater than we'd ever known, like leaving Earth, and that we were about to enter this period where this like separation essentially was happening. And then after February 2020, kind of what kicked into gear after that, and still currently lots and lots of death is all around us. Not that death hasn't been around us before, but I think we can all agree that there's been a big shift in the frequency of death all around us. Okay, so a psychic is going to be things more like past, present, future, reading people's energy, kind of knowing things about people, places, and things, where mediumship is specifically around speaking to spirit and passed on like loved ones. So mediumship definitely is more spirit based, and then psychic would be more the energy and life around that. The way that I view it all is, so the way that I connect with spirit on the other side would be, imagine, this is the best way I know how to describe it, existing in the same area that we all exist right now are all these other like frequencies where all the dimensions are in. And so to connect with spirit, the only way I really have for it is like use your intention. You direct your intention towards connecting to a certain frequency where the spirit would reside on, and that like pulls that into frame essentially. And then from there, that's how you can, I describe it as like translating data. Like I feel like I'm grabbing from the cosmic soup, bringing it in, and I'm just like translating the symbols and the information that comes through into language that whoever I'm reading with could understand. Yeah, so I'd say, do I receive messages as a psychic about the future of mankind? I would say that I do receive messages about kind of where we're headed. Um, that one about the wave of souls leaving and like what that had to do with and what I've been like brought to understand is you know how people talk about like there's gonna be this like separation of I think even like the Bible would talk about those who stay and those who leave would be like referencing this point. I think it's the frequency separation that's happening where the best way I know to describe it is where we're moving into is more and more people are going to be more in touch with their intuition, which means communicating with another person. You are more keenly aware of the truth of what's happening there. Like, people cannot hide things as well anymore. You'll be able to like sense when things are off. So moving into the future, like fully being authentic, being very truthful, being transparent is going to be the way forward because people are going to be picking up on that. There's this idea that like greater consciousness beings exist in a space where you don't have to speak at all because when you come meet somebody, you are automatically given the download of their information. I don't know if that's making sense. I hope it does. But like when you're operating from a higher consciousness space, you just receive the information rather than having to communicate it. So for mankind, where we're headed would require that our skeletons in the closet and the things we're afraid of and the things we want to hide and the shame that we live in needs to be cleared away so we can live in a more honest space, so that when we're interacting with each other that we're getting clear like message pathways. But I do believe, and what I kind of hear is moving into the beginning of next year, it's 2025, is when I'll start to see a lot of things shift. I think we're still into a chaotic road moving forward, because in chaos is where all the stuff gets kicked up, and then when the dust settles, you see kind of what's left. So with all of the stuff, at least here, like with our presidential things that are going on in the world, we have to like kind of move through this initial season, and then things will. When I say settle, I don't think that means that we're going to be easy peasy breezy moving forward. It's going to be with clarity that we can start to make choices to move forward. So I think that the shift happens if you're into astrology. We're entering that age of Aquarius, we're Capricorn, we're out of this, and we're now settling to Aquarius for the next 19 years, and that's all about like humanitarianism, community, the good of all people. So if that's the energy that we're going to be operating in as a collective society, the world, which means that like what we have seen in the past is we've woken up to what is no longer fair. We see now like the way that the powers that be have not been working in our favor, and because now we're awake to this, moving forward, the hope and what I feel is coming is that people are operating from a place of more of the heart center than just like head, and no more like selfishness and greed in the same way that it has been. And I do think that it starts at the beginning of next year. It definitely is not over. It's definitely a long road. I don't think it's going to be something that happens quickly. But I will tell you what I know is this. No matter who got elected in this situation, we were going to be slingshotted into this new shift. It didn't matter who was elected in this case. You're just getting a different catalyst for change. And so in this case, we got who we got, and so the way that change is going to happen is going to be probably with some brute force from the people. I am very careful. I don't ever want to like instill fear in people or anything like that, so I don't want to like talk about bigger like carnage things. I wouldn't be surprised if there are some bigger events that come into play in like the middle of next year. Especially maybe here in the US. Here's to hoping that doesn't go that way, but yeah, I'm not trying to withhold any information. I just really don't like to give people anything I think it's very important to never lead with things that create fear, rather than the biggest lesson, the biggest thing I hear constantly, any download that I ever get, if I ever am sitting with spirit or with another person, is that it is imperative that we create community and live in this way where it is literally like love your neighbor and behave in that way where you are feeding into the communities that you're around, even people that you don't like, even people that you think are different than you, because that's how we move through any of this. The way that we survive anything that's going to occur in the next year, many years forward, is within the communities we build, rather than putting our power, our agency, and our sovereignty into like any kind of governing bodies, because they do not care. about us. I think that where we're headed in the New Earth version and like the ideal and what I've seen, I do believe once we move through this like rocky period and like build communities, I think you'll see people being very much more in touch with nature. I think there's a huge return to nature. I think that once this crumbling moment happens, what I see is people waking up to the fact that we are actually all a part of the whole rather than separate from the earth, right? I do get this vision that comes through though about when the split occurs. Like I'm very much so subscribed to like quantum realities and different realities all happening at once. So I do believe that there is this like there is a version of this where everything is in crumbles and ruins, and then there's the other version of this that we get our act together there, and the earth can begin to heal, and we begin to heal our relationship with the earth, and become aware of, I don't want to say entities, but the beings that live among us that we can't fully see. You know, I think that we're going to start we are going to coexist with those things more in a deeper awareness. I've seen flashes of, and again, I want to be careful, something destructive coming to the US. I think that there is probably going to be retaliation that will come and hit our grounds. That is the thing that I have seen. I am not saying that it is an absolute, but it certainly is one that has been warned on. If we continue down the path that we're on, we're going to get our butts handed to us. So that would be probably an event. If I've seen an event from now to 2030, it would be that there is a moment of destruction here on our soil if we don't get our act together. That's spooping. I think this because whenever I've sat in like my space of just trying to receive, and multiple times, it continuously gets I get the same vision of, I don't want to get us in trouble, of like explosives hitting here in a big way, in a really big way, and so that is when it comes in multiple times, and it's not something that I spend my time thinking about, right? Like I don't sit here and think about like the demise of a country or a place or anything like that. I hope that doesn't happen, but this continues to be something that is kind of in the wavelengths of where we're currently operating. If we're staying on this frequency of where we're at, we will get our butts handed to us in some way. And it feels kind of more like a warning, though it's like a big warning that like to our detriment. It feels like what I hear from spirit is like, how deeply do we need to be shaken before we open our eyes and realize that like we have to, it sounds so cheesy, we deeply have to begin to treating another person, that people around us, better, because it is all of this. It is because we have all lost our sense of agency and self, as far as like not self and greed, but self like not getting a power over, to the like bigger things. I like to call the governing bodies like the ominous they. So there's like this feels like a warning. It feels like everything that's been happening so far is like to try to shake up everybody, but it's like just not quite working. And sometimes you have to be scared. I don't want to cuss. You have to be very scared to change your behavior. So in between 2025 and 2030, I do think that there's a threat that we get some kind of destruction. I've definitely seen like versions of that reality come through. That's definitely something that can come through. So I think it's important to know, and maybe not all psychics or all mediums would agree with me, but because we always have choice, there's always choice available. So you can be reading into one future when the set of information that you have is what it is, and that can guide to like a World War III. But because we have choice and change, things can fluctuate and shift as we make it shift. I currently, right now, am not getting the same hits for World War III that I was getting before. It feels like there's this moment where we might have this like space where that might not be the outcome, which like that would be. What else did? Wait. Well, I think that we're already, at least here, the economy is garbage. It's very bad. And part of that is so that way, if you create, this is what is happening as of now. When you put so much pressure on people and you take away their means of living well or okay, when you're living in a space, people are forced to live in a sense of desperation, emotional desperation. You remove their sense of choice. So all of this is to create that, as you keep the people down by removing their sense of choice, which then keeps the higher ups, if you will, in power. And if you want me to like go off into, this is a bit of a tangent, but like, if you think about bad, painful, big events create a lot of energy, and a lot of energy is what is wanted by like those people. Is that making sense? Like that's a big like generator of power. So and then it's a really good way to continuously create trauma throughout generations of people. You could keep people down. So that is happening. That has been happening. That's why the economy, for many reasons why it's bad, it's been staying bad, and I don't see it getting better anytime soon. In fact, they want to like press it down, make us be in a pressure cooker for these. They're fighting the good vibrations. And essentially we were like, if you imagine Earth kind of originally as like a neutral energy, or like a neutral energy point, and those, if all energy in this space was neutral, but then you get like egos and historical things happening that are bad, or our experience is bad, right? You've got polarity happening here. So it seems as though I'm taken off kilter, right? Like it seems like the negative experiences, the bad energy, the bad vibes, the evil, whatever you want to call it, has really kind of taken a hold of the experience here. And so the collective experience is this like upside down or like dark version of it. But it doesn't mean it can't be flipped. Wait. Yes, okay, what do I think about New Earth and the old system collapsing? I think that's true. I do believe that we're witnessing the beginnings of the collapse of the system. Because people are becoming aware of it. They're seeing that the system has not served them anymore. So to move forward, the old system does have to collapse. But again, it is not like a quick moving thing. And the system doesn't collapse by just participating in it. So people are now realizing that they can't participate in the system and expect it to change. And so part of this like Age of Aquarius thing is happening, and this like a community building that I'm talking about, and opening up and living from this space, this like New Earth high vibration energy, that's when it's like action based shifting out of the old system. So it will crumble and it will change. Not just in 2025, it will take longer, but it's going to change. So what do people need to do to have a positive future, to prepare for this potential like upheaval? And it's kind of what I've been talking about. I know it sounds almost silly and it sounds like ooh, like hippie love stuff, but it's not that. It's reconnecting with another human and realizing that everybody around you is a part of the whole, but we are the one whole, even though we're individuals. Because when we find that, and it truly is going to come down to unity, that is all higher beings and all like higher intelligence type consciousness that comes through, it is literally about kind of putting our armor down when it comes to one another, because the only way through this is going to be with one another. It's not going to be like how many bottles of water can you store, how much food can you hide in your bunker, how much money can you obtain and keep everyone out. It's not about keeping everyone out, it's about bringing people in. And so the biggest thing here, division has been massive. Though the biggest goal here has been division amongst people, so the division needs to close. Yeah. Anytime I am speaking to a spirit or have this come through, it is always about I would say raising the vibration is absolutely what that would be. Creating community, living from a space, like when I say that living from here, I mean like living from your heart energy. Like if someone's listening to this and they like take a deep breath and settle in, and then think about something that you love, maybe it's your dog or whatever, and then you feel that like kind of swell up in your heart. Can you live from that place? Can you have that for the stranger, for another person? Can you have compassion, forgiveness for yourself and for others? That's going to literally raise the vibration and the frequency of how we live, and that I do believe in what I hear is the only way through. Oh, how to live first messes, like the things, the destruction part. I would say for everybody, the best way through to whatever degree this means for you, whatever your spiritual practice is, whether that's just like one with yourself, even in meditation, if it is your religion, whatever, find a center in that. I think the biggest thing that I can say for anybody that I work with is it is imperative that we also all learn how to make choices again from this center. To know, like I like to instruct people to learn what their full body yes is and their full body no. It sounds very simple, but when you begin to know what the yes and the no is, and you operate from choosing the yes, if you have an entire population choosing their yes, you have people that are no longer living in friction, and instead you have them living in alignment. So to move through this mess, it's learning to choose your yes, which is what ignites your heart, what ignites your soul, and from that space making choices. I think everybody has the ability to be intuitive and to tap in. I do think some people have it more, some have it less. There's also different ways to receive information, but if you are alive and breathing, everybody has the ability to sense and receive information beyond just your regular five senses. Absolutely. I think it's part of the human existence. That's going to start with that yes or no practice I was saying, and then also a very easy, fun one. This is a very good one to start with for anybody. Have a friend show you a photo of someone that you don't know, and then on a piece of paper, just start writing down everything that you think comes to mind. Don't judge yourself, just write it down, and then ask them to talk to you about what notes you had, and you'll see that you actually know more than you think that you know. So that's a very good way to do it. Like free writing, kind of getting into a light meditative state. Sorry, my dog. It's kind of getting into a light meditative state, and then asking spirit or your guides or whatever you want to come in and, ask a question, and then just start writing, and you'll see that stuff will come out. So those are some practices. Again, learning your body's signal for yes and for no. When you start making choices with the little things, then you start applying it to bigger things, and then soon you start understanding when you kind of get like a hunch or an idea about something that is your intuition, and learning that it's not your analytical anxiety mind, but instead your intuition. If you are one, trust yourself. If you are getting these intuitive hits, trust that the first thing that you did, the first thing that comes to mind, that's the hit. Don't be hard on yourself. It's really easy if you maybe get it wrong, or you get in your head and then you say the wrong thing, and then you're like, I don't know what I'm doing, I can't do this. That's normal, but try to let that go and try again. I would say having boundaries is a really big one. Having boundaries both with, I have a lot of people writing me right now saying that they just do like a flood of stuff. It's constant. So, learning how to turn down the level of information you're getting or turn it up. And a simple way to do that, I know it sounds very easy and why does this work? In the screen of your mind, envision either a light switch or like a knob. One is off, one is on, and then you turn the dial to where you want it to be. An important one is when you start wanting to do this, for work, you do need to charge in exchange. It doesn't need to be a lot or anything, but it is an exchange. Energetically, it needs to be an exchange. So if it's money, services, whatever, that's an important part of this. It keeps you out of also resentment. If you're sitting in resentment with this space, it doesn't work. If you're sitting in a lot of doubt, this space doesn't work. And boundaries with people, I would say, not everyone needs to hear a message. Just because you meet someone on the street and you think you have a message for them, ask their permission first. It's not good to just say to people. But keep diving in, keep growing it. The more you use this muscle, essentially, the more it will grow. And you truly know that where we're headed as a society is it would be more and more people who are capable of doing this. So dive in, do the thing. Do I have a takeaway from communicating with the dead? Is that you? Yeah, I'll tell you this. There seems to be, how I perceive it and what I've been shown, kind of. There is not heaven or hell. That's not what happens. As far as I've seen, when someone dies, there seems to be this experience of, yes, there's this life review, but it happens very quickly. It's all of a sudden someone pulls the curtain back on the all-knowingness, and then they're like, oh, I understand now. So that seems to happen when they pass away. From there seems to be this kind of like learning period or like a processing period of kind of the life that they've lived in this realm with us here. In that space, I don't know how long that really takes. We are on a space where we're living in like a regular, we have our version of time. Now spirit lives in a different kind of version of time, right? So it seems like they go through like a learning period. Also, there's this, in not heaven or hell, I want to explain this well, not by the way that you died, but the frequency with which you like resonate in your life. Like if you're really like really bad to people and like really just like angry and like everything is like mean and you're cruel to others around you, if you believe that your life here on earth is hell, when you pass, the experience you have is another version of that kind of stuff until you like learn to let it go. It's letting the stuff go. So there is not heaven or hell, but there is a resonating experience on the other side. Yeah, well, I definitely am big on, and what I think is the reincarnation. Like you live another life. However, with that living another life, you also, everything is all happening all the time, all at once. So like, yes, you're living another life now while we're living this life, but it's not like another life in the future 1,500 years. It might be on our timeline, but everything is all occurring all at the same time. So I'll help with that in some there, as well as some souls. I think they take a minute. They don't want to like cycle right back into it. They need to like take a beat, especially if it's been like a traumatic death. If it was a really hard life, especially if a soul, sometimes I'll tap in with them and like they do not want to acknowledge maybe their wrongdoings. Maybe they don't want to see in the ways that they were wrong in life or whatever. And if that's happening, they're like, I don't know, call it like a recycling period, but it takes longer for that to kind of like roll over. I believe that the whole, everything and all that is God. So I heard this explanation like this and I really liked it. God is the whole hand. This is the whole, everything that exists ever. And then our individual nature, who we are the fingers as individuals. But this is still God, right? Like whoever's listening to this is I am, you are, but also the person sitting next to you is, and the air we breathe, everything is that exists is God. I'd call it the cosmic pulse. I do believe so. I do believe that what it appears to be happening is the shift does work in our benefit. I can't say that that's in my lifetime that we see like the big shift, right? Like we see the fruits of the shift. But I don't think we're done here. If that's the question. We're not done here, and I think that a lot of change is coming, and I do believe that it's good, and that the shift, I guess like humanity prevails, but not prevails in like trumping out other life. We prevail because we begin to integrate with everything around us. Yeah, so what do people need to do to have a positive future to prepare for this potential like upheaval? And it's kind of what I've been talking about. I know it sounds almost silly and it sounds like ooh, like hippie love stuff, but it's not that. It's reconnecting with another human and realizing that everybody around you is a part of the whole, that we are the one whole, even though we're individuals. Because when we find that, and it truly is going to come down to unity, that is all higher beings and all like higher intelligence type consciousness that comes through, it is literally about kind of putting our armor down when it comes to one another. Because the only way through this is going to be with one another. It's not going to be like how many bottles of water can you store, how much food can you hide in your bunker, how much money can you obtain and keep everyone out. It's not about keeping everyone out, it's about bringing people in. And so the biggest thing here, division has been massive. Though the biggest goal here has been division amongst people, so the division needs to close. Anytime I am speaking to a spirit or have this come through, it is always about. Thank you so much for having me on today. Again, my name is Alyssa. If you want to connect with me, I'm on Instagram. That's a really way to find anything that I'm doing. I teach classes and I do workshops and stuff under Alyssa M. Conger. Be on the lookout for my podcast with my friend Lauren Hoover called The Afterlife Crisis, coming out at the beginning of the year in January, talking all the fun things. If you have any questions or comments or other opinions about what we talked about today, please leave a comment down below this video. All right, thank you. Oh, and you can find me on Hello Sunny Eden.